Guess what? I created a pet mascot for my website. This is Froggy, and Froggy lives on my website. And Froggy just and looks for bugs to eat. And this is Froggy's little world right here. And in this video, I'm going to show you how you can create your own pet mascot for your own website. Let's dive in. In this video here, I'll share with you what my thinking process is, why I created a pet mascot for my website. And I'm going to show you guys how you can build your own pet mascot. So my first thought was I wanted my website to be alive and to be animated, but I don't, there's traditional animation, there's lots of other different things that can be done. So what I did was I go ahead and just decided, what do I want to do? My first thought is maybe I create a pet mascot, and my thought was I was going to create a mantis. And mantis it eats bugs, and that was my first attempt at what I want to do. But I thought maybe that's not necessarily right. So after thinking through a mascot for the website, I had to go through a little process, take you through the process. And if you are interested in creating your own pet mascot, I put together a little guide in terms of how to do that there. So the first thing is I needed to identify in terms of what the purpose of it, in terms of a mascot. It has to align, it has to be part of the story itself. It has to be part of the environment, it has to be part of the brand of the product. And then you have to decide on how you want it to behave. And so that's part of it. And then the mascot should never cover text or controls or forms or navigation. So it should be part of the environment, but it shouldn't necessarily take away from what you want the user to do on your site. So it's more of an enhancement, kind of like a cool factor, right? And in fact, I'll dive deeper into Froggy in a little bit. But let me take you through the process of how Froggy came about. So, and the steps of what you can do. So you start with the metaphor, and for me, because fusion coding helps users fix code in terms of using AI to fix and to do pull requests, address pull requests, and to help software coders to do better coding, to produce production level codes. So Froggy, in this situation, I didn't go with the mantis. I decided to go with Froggy, and Froggy goes and eats poisonous bad code. So I chose a character or a pet. I actually thought about multiple variations, and then I created a 5-post sheet. I'll show you what that looks like in a second. And then I removed the background of the image. And then I align every pose around its visual center. And then from that, I actually coded and gave it live motion, blinking, looking, hopping, reacting. And all that is done through me just I actually built 2 versions of it. I use Fable to build one version. I use GPT Soul to build the other version. And guess which version won? Find out. So, and then after that, I initially had some flies, but flies, it's hard. And then I decided to go with glyph bugs, and glyph bugs are just code bugs, and they're digital bugs. So that actually worked out too. I was going to put some digital flies onto the site, but decided not to do that, and we went with glyph bugs. And then we gave it a hunting system to find the closest bugs and to approach it, and to stop at tongue distance and strike and then swallow. And then we went through a few different iterations of it, walking, hopping, sliding, and sometimes it would disappear, and I would have to, fix why it kept on disappearing from the site. And then the last step was I gamified it a little bit, and I'll show you what that looks like in a second. So that's really the first iteration of it. So this is the first rendering of the images, and it was okay. It just wasn't, I didn't like the spots on it and so forth. So that was the first rendering of it. So this is the second rendering of it. And again, I just prompted for GPT image 2 using ChatGPT, because ChatGPT, and I actually had Gemini also. So this is created by, I think this version was created by ChatGPT. The first version was created by Gemini, and I didn't like this version as well, so I got rid of this version. So this is the final version that I created, and I said, okay, this is the right tool to use. The first is to identify your mascot. Once you identify your mascot, you have to create multiple poses. So this is the first pose. This is the just Froggy sitting. This pose here is Froggy with its eyes blinking. This pose is Froggy jumping. This pose is Froggy turning left. And then once you create an image turning left, I just have the AI to have it turn right as well. So one pose can actually be done into two different poses. And then this pose here is where Froggy is actually spitting out his tongue to get the bugs. So that's the first thing, is to create the images, and you can create more than 5 images. For my situation, I just needed 5. So let me come back to Froggy on the site here. Let me actually take you through how Froggy works. And I just instructed the Codex GPT 5.6 Soul as well as Fable, and they created and then they animated Froggy. And I just told them to say, hey, I want Froggy to be animated on the website. I want Froggy to exist on the website as if it's living on the monitor, not inside of the website itself. So that was the general prompt. And then Froggy was animated, and then the AI agent placed Froggy onto the site. And then Froggy just went about and started hunting, in terms of, and then I gave it a score. So every time Froggy ate bugs, there will be different bugs are more rare, and some bugs have more points, and some other bugs have less points. And so this is a very subtle game. When the user comes on the site, they're just like, what's that little thing hopping around? And then it just kind of give a different perspective of how a website looks. And so that's why I created. If you are interested in creating a pet mascot for your own website, love to hear what you do with it. And the PowerPoint guide is in the description below, and you can use it to go and create your own pet mascot. For me, I've got Froggy, and I'm curious to see what you create. Now, coming back to what I use, this is the original video that I shot. I actually recorded the whole process. It's a 25-minute video, so I chose not to use that. I created a new video. But this side was actually Fable, and this side was ChatGPT that created, or Codex more so. And they both created the same, but the ultimate winner was the ChatGPT. Their version, the frog didn't jump. It would just like have funny walks. And it was harder to get it to jump, harder to get it to move properly. So Fable, at the end of the day, beat out creating the best pet. Now, you can use any coding tool to build your pet, because this is not complex, or this is not hard. You're just guiding the agent. The hardest part is choosing what will work on your website, and without it being gimmicky, and without it being intrusive on the site. And so for my situation, if I click on Froggy can actually jump. The more I interact with it, the more Froggy will interact. If I click on it, it actually will jump. And then if I don't do anything with it, it'll be more subtle. And all that is done through just telling the code, or just telling the agent that, hey, I want Froggy to react in this way as it lives in this environment. So that's just really on what you choose to do with Froggy. So Froggy just lives in its own world as my pet mascot, and I love it. Tell me what you think about Froggy, and tell me if you're going to build your own pet mascot. What are you going to build? And if you need help with your pet mascot, leave a comment below, and I'll be more than happy to help you think through your pet mascot for your own website. And I'm curious to see what you end up building. All right. Thanks for watching this episode, and I will see you in another episode. Hey, if you're new to this channel, don't forget to like and subscribe and click on that notification bell where I put out content around AI, software development, coding, web design. I'm a content creator. That's what this channel is all about. And I will see you in the next episode.